Today, you will look at your own face without even meaning to, in a bathroom mirror still fogged from the shower, in the dark glass of your phone before it lights up, in a shop window, a spoon, a puddle, the side of a car. Dozens of times you will glance at the most familiar face in the world, and you will be completely wrong about what you are seeing, because the person looking back at you is not you. Not exactly. It is a stranger that no one else on earth has ever met, and the smooth glass you think is doing the work is barely involved at all. So, how does a mirror actually work? The answer changes everything we think we know about light, about the face you call your own, and about the strange narrow line that separates the creatures who recognize themselves from the ones who never will. Start with the thing itself, because we built it long before we understood it. The oldest known mirrors on Earth were not glass, they were stone. At Çatalhöyük, a Neolithic settlement on the Anatolian plateau in modern Turkey, archaeologists working the site first excavated by James Mellaart found polished discs of obsidian, volcanic glass buried with the dead around 6000 BCE. 8,000 years ago, someone ground that black stone smooth enough to catch a human face and then carried that face into the grave. It is no accident that the word itself drips with awe. Mirror comes through Old French from the Latin mirari, to wonder at, to marvel, the very same root that gives us miracle and admire. To look in a mirror was, linguistically, to witness something miraculous. For most of history, that miracle was rare and guarded like gold. By the Renaissance, the secret of making clear glass mirrors belonged to the glassmakers of Murano near Venice, and the Venetian state protected that monopoly with a brutality that sounds invented. A craftsman who tried to leave and sell the secret abroad could have his family imprisoned, and if that failed, the Council of Ten would send assassins. It took the ambition of a king to break them. In the 1660s, the minister Colbert, acting for Louis XIV, had Murano artisans smuggled into France. 15 years later, the Sun King unveiled the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, a single gallery lined with 357 mirrors, a wall of reflected light so extravagant it announced to all of Europe that France could now bend the miracle to its will. Mirrors stayed a luxury until 1835, when the German chemist Justus von Liebig perfected a way to deposit a microscopically thin film of real silver onto glass using silver nitrate and a little sugar. That single chemical trick is why you own one. But here is what almost no one realizes about the object on your wall. The glass is not the mirror. The glass is just a clear, scratch-proof window. The real mirror is that whisper-thin skin of metal behind it, and the reflection happens for a reason that is genuinely strange. When light strikes that silver, it does not bounce off like a ball off a wall. The light's electromagnetic field grabs the sea of free electrons floating loose inside the metal and shakes them. Those electrons slosh back and forth at a natural rhythm physicists call the plasma frequency. And for silver and aluminum, that rhythm sits up in the ultraviolet faster than any color your eye can see. So when visible light arrives, the electrons keep perfect pace with it, absorb it, and instantly re radiate it back out. They reject the light, almost all of it, across every color equally. That total, even rejection, is exactly why polished metal looks that bright neutral silver. And it is why gold is the odd one out. Gold's electrons are a little sluggish, they fail to keep up with blue and violet, so they swallow those colors instead of returning them, and what bounces back is warm and yellow. The color of a mirror, in other words, is the color of light it refuses to keep. Plain glass reflects too just weakly, only about 4% of the light that hits it. You have seen this without naming it. Stand inside a lit room at night, and the window becomes a dim mirror, your own face floating in the dark outside, because that faint 4% is finally brighter than the blackness beyond. That same fact is the entire secret of the one way mirror in every interrogation scene you have ever watched. It is not magic glass. It is a coating of metal so thin it reflects only part of the light and lets the rest pass through, with a bright room on one side and a dark room on the other. Whoever sits in the dark sees through it like a window. Whoever sits in the light sees only themselves. The glass treats both rooms exactly the same. It is the lighting, not the mirror, doing the lying. Now for the part that has fooled almost everyone who has ever stood in front of one. Everybody knows mirrors flip you left to right. Raise your right hand, and your reflection raises its left. It feels obvious. It is also completely false. A mirror does not reverse left and right at all. What it actually reverses is front and back. Think of it like a rubber glove turned inside out. The image is pulled through the plane of the glass, depth first, the way a mold inverts the thing it casts. Physicists call the apparent left right swap a trick of perception, and the reason is hidden in your own body. You are very nearly symmetrical down your middle. Your left side mirrors your right. So when the reflection inverts front to back, your brain refuses to read it as inside out and instead does the only thing that makes sense to it. It imagines a whole second person who has turned around to face you. The text on your shirt looks backward, not because the mirror flipped the letters sideways, but because you mentally spun yourself around to stand in your double shoes. Left and right are simply what is left over once your brain has locked down up, down, front, and back. Which brings us at last back to your own face and to the unsettling truth waiting there. Because the mirror swaps you front to back, the face you have stared at your entire life is reversed. Every small asymmetry, the eyebrow that sits higher, the smile that pulls a little to one side, the nose that leans, is flipped from the way the rest of the world sees you. The face you find normal in the glass is a face no other human being has ever seen on you. They see the original. You only ever see the copy. It is why you can flinch at a photograph of yourself. That is the real you, and you barely know him. And recognizing that reflection as yourself at all turns out to be a rare gift. In 1970, the psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. designed a deceptively simple experiment. He let chimpanzees live with a mirror, then, while they were anesthetized, dabbed an odorless red mark on a brow and an ear, spots they could only ever see in the reflection. When they woke, they reached up and touched the marks on their own faces. They understood that the animal in the glass was them. Human babies cannot do this until around 18 months to 2 years old. Monkeys, despite years in front of a mirror, never manage it at all. For decades, scientists assumed self recognition demanded a big, primate like brain until 2008, when the German researcher Helmut Prayer marked magpies with small colored stickers and watched the birds scratch at their own throats to dislodge a mark they could only have seen in the glass. A creature whose lineage split from ours more than 300 million years ago had passed the very same test as a chimpanzee. In more than 50 years of testing, only a tiny handful of species ever have: chimpanzees and orangutans, a lone elephant, dolphins, those magpies. Almost every other creature on Earth looks into a mirror and sees a stranger forever. There is even a strange geometry to it. A flat mirror only needs to be half your height to show you head to toe, and that never changes no matter how far back you step. The math of reflection makes you exactly half size in the glass, always, and image the perfect proportions of a person who is not there. So think about what you are really doing the next time you catch your own eye in passing. You are looking at a film of silver too thin to see, rejecting light it cannot hold. You are looking at yourself inverted front to back, a stranger your friends would recognize faster than you would. You are doing something almost no other animal that has ever lived can do, meeting your own gaze and knowing it is yours. 8,000 years ago, someone polished black stone until it caught their face and felt they were touching a miracle, and the word for that wonder is still buried inside the thing on your wall. We turned it into furniture, we hung it by the door and stopped looking. And every single morning, that ordinary piece of glass quietly performs the same impossible trick our ancestors buried with their dead. It hands us a face we will never quite believe is our own.